Hey y'all, Happy New Year's, and this is going to be a prime rib recipe that we did for New Year's Eve dinner, and it came out pretty good. First you're going to get some prime rib, some people call it rib roast, and it really has a fat cap on the top. Some people leave it on, it also has silver skin, but it is a great cut of meat, very expensive, with nice marbling on it. I like to cut the fat cap off and all the silver skin. If you want to leave it on, that's fine, but it does get pretty fatty. This is what the rib roast looks like after you've trimmed all the fat off. There's still a lot of fat on the inside, so don't worry about it, it's not going to be dry. So we're going to inject the prime rib with some beef broth. You can use whatever brand you'd like, or if you want to make your own, but I use 1/4 of a cup of beef broth. And I use a meat injector and just inject the meat with the beef broth all throughout the whole prime rib. And just make sure you inject all sides, including the sides of the meat and the undersides as well, to make sure all that good broth gets in there to keep it nice and moist. And now we're going to do our herb garlic butter to spread on our rib roast. This is some fresh rosemary from my garden, and I roughly chopped it up, just 1 sprig. And then I got some room temperature butter, 1 stick of it, put 2 tablespoons of Hawaiian salt or rock salt, and some freshly ground pepper. And then I threw in that chopped rosemary into the butter mixture, as well as 10 cloves of diced garlic. And this is the rib roast. You're going to liberally spread all that butter and salt mixture and herbs all over that rib roast, even the undersides and all throughout. And make sure it gets all in there to season it up. And that's what's going to make your great crust when you smoke it. And this is what it looks like. And the butter will start to harden, and we're going to do this the day before. And we're going to give it a day to marinate. You're going to cover it up with saran wrap and put it back in the fridge. This is what it looks like 24 hours later outside of the fridge. You must take it out to get the meat to room temperature. So give it about 4 hours on your countertop, still wrapped in the pan. Otherwise, it will take forever to cook. And then I tie my butcher string on my prime rib so it doesn't curl while cooking. Some people like to do it before seasoning, but I like to make sure all my seasonings are in there before I tie the string. Today I'm using hickory wood mixed with pecan. It's one of my favorite wood mixtures. And I'm using my electric smoker since it was a very rainy day on New Year's Eve and I couldn't use my regular smoker. I'm going to put my electric smoker to 250 and let it preheat. Once you get your meat in the smoker, make sure you have your meat thermometer. That is a must. You must have a meat thermometer to do this, to make sure it's cooked at the right temperature, and stick it all the way into the middle of the prime rib. We're going to shut the door and let her go, and the butter's going to start to melt along with the herbs and the garlic and all the seasonings onto the meat. Be sure to put a pan on the bottom to collect all the beautiful drippings. And the smoke's starting to roll, and it's at 66 degrees right at the beginning. This is the prime rib after 1 hour. And you can see it hit 104 degrees Fahrenheit. We're aiming for 115. So while we're waiting, we're going to do the au jus. I use 1 carrot, roughly chop up that carrot. Doesn't have to be fancy, and also roughly chop up 1 medium onion and also 4 stalks of celery. I also used 4 cloves of garlic. Just smash it, take off the skins. You don't need to chop it up. And just throw it all into a saucepan. I added 3 cups of beef broth, whatever brand you prefer, into the saucepan with the veggies. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt and some freshly grated black pepper to the mix. And then I just stir it up and make sure all the liquid is covering the veggies. And then you're going to bring it to a boil, and once it's to a boil, I cover it up with a lid and turn it down and let it simmer. This is my finished product at about 4 hours of cooking time. As you can see with the electric smoker, does not make a good bark like a real smoker does, so I put it up on the broiler option just to give it a nice crust on the outside. And that's what it pretty much looks like. And you're gonna cut off your butcher string and let it rest for an hour. I usually foil it up while it's resting. I pulled this out at 115 degrees. If you want it medium rare, you must pull it out around that time, because as it's resting, it continues to cook and it'll hit about 125 to 130 degrees after it's done resting. This is the pan drippings that I threw into the au jus mixture. It has been simmering for about an hour and a half till the veggies are soft. I used a strainer to strain all the veggies out, and you're left with a beautiful au jus. I would not advise you to add the drippings if you don't like smoky things, because it's going to make it very smoky. Instead, if you don't want smoky things, add 2 tablespoons of butter to your au jus. Now this is the finished rib roast. You're going to cut the bones off, so you stand it up vertically with the bone side up, and run your knife along the bone, and it should just come off easily. Make sure to save the bones, because they're actually one of the best parts if you like to gnaw on some ribs, because that's pretty much what it is, tender ribs. And right now I'm cutting it in half just to show you the beautiful color of the medium rare, and it's cooked perfectly. But after that, you're going to cut it the other way against the grain, so you have tender cuts of prime rib. But it came out really juicy, had a light smoky taste. You don't want to overpower it because you want the meat to shine. So hopefully you can try it out one day, and have a happy new year. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you again.